Yeah, shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah, shorts, trainers, and a tiny and a t-shirt. It's just ideal what you want in a blizzard.
So you thought you were still down south then?
And
really?
it was a blizzard as well.
You
Like
see the
3
size
inches
of those snowflakes?
Yeah, they were all on my head.
That's when you can really feel them. When you feel them hitting you.
Yeah, it was proper. It was proper.
Yeah, not cricket weather.
Definitely not. I'm not sure you're going to play too many games in that. In fairness,
I'm sure you'd like to give it a go sometime.
Do you know what? There was. I think there's a game played at the bottom of a mountain in Switzerland. It's a very sort of like.
I've seen
I think it's like two. It's like a private school and a bank play against each other. I think you need to have a certain upbringing to be eligible to play.
Certain match fee.
But yeah, I don't know the mountain what it's called, but yeah, it's meant to be a real famous game.
I've seen the pictures from it. It does look like you just watch it and it's like, oh, that doesn't look.
Yeah, and
right.
I was invited last month to go to Iceland actually to go and coach their national team, and they play a little series called the Volcanic Ashes, which I thought was quite amusing. Look at I don't think the facilities are up to much, but no, it's pretty decent that these sort of countries that you never thought would play your sport play it.
They're just starting to get involved, aren't they? Because like every sport everywhere just seems to be growing more and more. Because I think with the state of like the world, people need that escape wherever they are now, and they're just crying. Like all sports seem to be on the rise.
Yeah, well, I think when people migrate around the world as well, they take their cultures and sports with them, don't they? And I think there's an enormous league in New York apparently, but obviously it'll be a lot of like West Indian and sort of Asian sort of background people that are moving over to the States to work, and it's blossomed into this massive league that they play out there. I don't think it's not professional level, but USA now compete at a certain level. You obviously got your England, South Africas, and Australias that play in the top tier, and then there's about 3 below it, and I think you get some very random sort of fixtures, like Italy versus Oman and all this kind. It wouldn't have happened sort of 10 years ago. So
no, but then you see teams like the West Indies like go through a decline. It's weird, isn't it? Like they have at one point they're the best team in the world, then all of a sudden there's nothing there.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a challenge to.
Because I know they lose a lot of guys to potentially like trying to play basketball and stuff.
Yeah,
because that's where all the money is.
Yeah, I think. Much like here sometimes, every rugby player and cricketer that makes it as a professional is a failed footballer. That's kind of because it's a football country, and I think over in the West Indies, you've obviously got the heritage for sprinting in the background, and how dominant they are in the sprinting world, athletics. Then basketball, American football, because obviously it's. We've got a big sort of American vibe over there. They're the chosen sports really. So I think cricket does lose a lot of the talent, but it will always come back. I think
it's cyclical, isn't it?
Countries go through waves. You look at Man United at the moment.
One of our players is a Manchester United fan, and I think he used this as a very cathartic experience to vent all his frustrations about them.
Yeah. Well, I don't like to get overly opinionated because you support your side. They are the team me and my brother support, and he's unfortunately a little bit more fanatical than I am. So he has sleepless nights over it. We've gone from Ollie's at the wheel to a complete car crash in the last 6 months. So, but you got to back the bloke. Yeah, I mean they've brought in a number of massive names that hasn't clicked.
And all good things take time.
Exactly, Fergie, big shoes to fill. And a big glass of red wine to fill as well. But no, it's almost like the poison chalice in sport, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's like you say, when you say that professional cricket and rugby players are all failed footballers, it's kind of like we get the dregs of everything else. Because ice hockey is so minority sport in this country. I mean, there are 10 professional teams in the entire country. Like we get the dregs of it. Or not the dregs, that's a horrible word to use.
Yeah.
So, sorry to all our British...
I was about to remap that into the cream will rise to the top, and you'd actually end up with amazing players.
So, I'm sorry to all our British players for that turn of phrase. But we get all the kind of the rest kind of thing, and they find this as because when you train at ice hockey, you're a kid, you train at 11 o'clock at night. It's not like...
Where's the crossover, though? Are you getting guys that are good at hockey that learn to skate, or skaters that want to play hockey?
I think they both come at the same time because you'll see different because sometimes we have like kids will play games between periods of our games. You see like they're all at different levels. So I think it just depends where you pick it up. Like you'll watch it and you go, oh, I want to play that. But then much like cricket, it's all the equipment that comes with it. With football, you need the ball and a pair of shoes. But with cricket, you need bat, helmet, gloves. Yeah. With this, you need sticks, shorts, helmets, skates, just everything.
Yeah, bumpers. Like I'd need, if I played ice hockey, I would need a big inflatable airbag to, like a Zorba thing on skates. I would hit the ground so much it would be embarrassing. I'd love to get in and have a game of ice hockey, have a bit of a scrap, but I'd be on my arse all the time.
Well, down in Cardiff, they play Zorb football on the ice.
I've watched the Zorb football. It looks funny, but like it's got some major broken neck potential.
I don't know. It's the ankles I'd be more concerned about because you're actually walking on the ice and stuff. It just looks. Yeah. It's not for me. No. Not for me. But
nothing good can happen to walking on ice.
No. So when did you choose cricket then? When did that become? When did cricket come into the life of Peter? Is it Trego or Trego?
Trego.
Yeah. I've always pronounced it Trego, so I'll get it right now.
There's a bloody shop in Cornwall called Trego Mills, but it's spelled Trago.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, I think my surname gets sucked up into that, and
I mean, all it takes is one commentator to get it wrong on telly, and then everyone assumes it's that.
Oh yes, it's actually a family frustration. You can say, "Hi, I need to make an appointment to see the dentist, Peter Trego." And they go, "Hi, Mr. Trego," and you're like, and you just lose the will to live trying to correct people. But you know, most of the commentators, after 20 years as a professional, are finally on board with it. So it hasn't taken too long.
Is that why you started getting mic'd up a bit more so you could tell them off?
Well, yeah, give them a bit of stick, to be fair. But no, it's bloody frustrating actually when you've got I think a relatively straightforward name that everyone seems to get wrong. But like it happens, it's not the worst thing that happens to me from a day-to-day perspective.
Well, if it is the worst thing that happens, you've had a good day.
Yeah. Definitely. I think on my headstone, I'm going to like chuck in 2 or 3 more E's. Peter Trego. Okay,
just to really clarify it.
Maybe even have a little tree emoji in the middle of it.
Each side of it. That'd be perfect. And grow some trees around it, just to really emphasise the fact.
Definitely.
So when did cricket go into the life of Peter Trego?
Cricket. Okay, so when football failed. No. Well, I was brought up in a football family. I played non-league football for quite a few years, probably up until about 2005-06. At sort of Vanarama, is it Vanarama? Blue Square, the
changes every
South. You know, whoever's stupid enough to put their cash into it, I suppose. So I was brought up to play football. Had the crossover for many years. I think the real pivotal stage for cricket for me was my brother we were both footballers. Brother had a really nasty accident, broke his knee, and he couldn't play any contact sport basically. So he sort of focused in on cricket. I'm 4 years younger than Sam, and he got into the junior county team, and obviously, you know, younger brother in the background. I'm not having this. I'm going to give this game a crack. So with very little sort of technical ability, I had a hand-me-down bat from Am Patel, the corner shop guy. He had a £3 bat with a load of electrical tape holding it together. Gave that to me. Very sort of like a bit of a working class story, really. Went to the sort of local team and, without any technique, just had an ability to hack the ball over cow corner with quite a bit of power. So obviously at junior level, you know, I scored a lot of runs, and me and my brother both scored a lot of runs and got into the county team, and then like anything, I think you play sport for the right reasons. You know, growing up, you're just playing with your mates and something to do.
It's fun.
Yeah, because it's fun and you want to do it, and especially when you do well, you enjoy the adulation and that. But I think it's probably like a number of years into your professional career when you actually realise, oh, am I allowed to say that? This is actually my job now. You know, it changes. I think you've probably already made your professional debut before you realise that you've got to start taking it seriously. And for me, way into my 20s before the penny dropped about what being a good professional was. So,
because you had a bit of a break, didn't you? Like you went away from the game for a few years.
Yeah, I was 97 to 2003 at Somerset. Then I had a couple of seasons where I played for Kent and Middlesex, and eventually back to Somerset after having. I like to sort of use the phrase that everyone used to use in the 60s and 70s. I went away to find myself, you know, all that spiritual nonsense. But no, I needed a break from, you know, it was really good for me to be, you know, away from home. And I think when you have an easy upbringing in sport, and I don't mean this in a big-headed way. You know, the hitting the cricket ball became very natural to me. It was really easy for me to sort of shine in many ways, and you know, into the junior England teams, England under-19s, and people writing, "Oh, the next Botham because I'm a Somerset all-rounder," and you believe the BS, and you don't realise the hard work it actually takes to be a good professional cricketer or sportsman across any sport really. And it did come really easy to me up until about 21, and then the hammer dropped, where it sort of gets taken away from you, and then you realise, you know, because in that period I was playing non-league football. I worked at my mate's nursing home, dishing out breakfast and coffees to all the patients that were living there. Worked as a builder. So I had sort of 3-4 jobs running, and then you have this. You know what? Full-time cricket is not a bad way to make a living. Instead of here, there, and everywhere, probably making half the amount of money. Do you know what I mean? It's not all about that, but I think sometimes you got to lose something
to realise
how much you want it. And that happened to me, but it happened to me young. So, you know, it happened to me at sort of 21, 22, 23, around that sort of it. So I was able to recover it, and it was the best thing that happened to me.
Because when you had that, when you were playing football, you were a goalkeeper, weren't you?
Yeah.
And I've read a very quite incredible thing. You scored 2 goals, both from your own half.
Yeah. I played my last like proper game of football was for Bath City, and I played on the left wing. I think every goalkeeper, there's a frustrated outfielder.
Oh, definitely.
Because obviously, because you're kind of almost like a sports observer for most of the game. I could do it better than that. I could finish that, and you know. So I think the one goal that does stand out. I ended up on Talk Spot the following day. I won sort of like goal of the week just through hearsay. I don't think, unfortunately, there's any footage of it, but there was a free kick on the sort of D of our in our half, so probably about 70 yards out, and there was a passage of play just before where the centre back had obviously made a mistake, and I can remember vividly seeing the opposition keeper absolutely lambasting the centre back for his mistake, and he was hovering about 20 yards out of the goal. John Keister, our captain, guy that played quite a lot of league football and played, I think he played sort of a few World Cup games for Sierra Leone. Really, really nice player. I literally just elbowed him out of the way and just struck this free kick, and it was just like you couldn't have hit a football any better, and it never left the top corner of the goal. It literally was like, just clipped the underside of the bar on the way in. Took the rest of the lads about 10 minutes to catch me. I was doing laps of the field, and
were you celebrating before it went in? Did you know it was going?
Oh, it was it was just one of those moments. It was pretty cool, to be fair. I think most of my teammates actually gave up trying to chase me. I was so buzzing about it, but yeah, these are things you do, I guess.
Memories.
Yeah, I played 2 first round proppers in the FA Cup, which is amazing experience. One of them was on Match of the Day, which was really cool against I think, who did we play? We played Hereford United, I think, in an FA Cup first round, which was really cool.
That's right. You got the tape of that game somewhere?
I have the VHS.
VHS.
Kids, VHS. Google it. Betamax VHS.
They'll never believe it when they see it. They'll never believe it when they see it. So you were playing, like you say, you were playing Kent and Middlesex also at that time. Were you always wanting to get back to Somerset? Because I assume they're your team as a child.
Yeah. Like it was strange, really. I was, as a youngster, I think, hence why I'm covered in tattoos now. I was quite an impetuous sort of guy or youngster, and I want this now. And I was sort of in the first team, out the first team, and it used to drive me crackers at Somerset. So we played a game against Kent, and Steve Waugh was playing, and I got Steve Waugh out and got a few runs.
How'd you get him out?
I bowled.
Oh, okay.
He tried to hack me over cow corner, and it was towards the end of the innings, but I bowled quite well. I batted quite well in the game. So I was having this period with Somerset where in the first team, out the first team, I wasn't particularly getting on with a few people that well. And in the car park, Steve Waugh was tasked by obviously management at Kent at the time to basically lure me to the club. You'd have a great opportunity to play first team cricket and all this kind of stuff. And a legend of the game sort of, rating you and all this sort of stuff. And, I signed for that. Didn't go well there, and basically had a year, 18 months where I was just nowhere with cricket really until John Embury, the ex-England off-spinner, saw me play in a minor counties match and gave me a contract almost there and then on the day. which started a really great few months at Middlesex, home ground at Lords, and it was all like the stars almost aligned really to fall back in love with the game that you've very much fallen out of love with at Lords. It was just like you couldn't not love it again. Million round sort of West Hampstead, having a few coffees and playing your cricket on the weekend at Lords. It was pretty good. Living
the dream.
Definitely. And then that really, really special moment where one of my heroes growing up, Brian Rose, was in the crowd. I didn't know he was in the crowd, but I can remember I opened the bowling in a one-day game and for Middlesex, running in from the nursery ground end, and Rosie really looks like Robert Redford, especially from a distance, and he was sat in the sort of second tier of the Lord's Pavilion. I was like, is that Brian Rose or Robert Redford? I couldn't quite work it out, and I was like, oh, he's might be able to watch me. And I got 3 or 4 early wickets, and then when I got off the field, I had the old text message, time to come home, and it was cracking really. It was a good little. It was a frustrating period, but it was the moment that maketh the man.
And when you went back to Somerset, you had quite a good season when you went back there.
Yeah.
From what my research before, you got
Wikipedia
and Crick Info. I went double down on my research.
Okay,
I got caught out on a Wikipedia one the other day. I gave a fact to someone and said that's not true.
Yeah.
So I don't use all that on its own now. So you got 135 against Derbyshire, and you got that's one of 300s that year. So you must have been feeling pretty good back home, in a groove kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I said, it was. You fall in love with the game that you, I think, naturally quite gifted at, and that's a great combination. To love what you do and be good at it is a great combination, and that was probably where I was at and have been at, there since what was it, 2005-06, that sort of time. So 15 years of lots and lots of cricket and loving it, and coming here to Nottinghamshire, playing at Trent Bridge is, I feel like I did when I went back to Somerset all over again. I've always looked after myself like physically, and it's actually amazed myself. I knew that coming to a new club would energise me and give me a lift, but I didn't realise how good it was going to be.
Well, you played with some legends at Somerset, and you like Marcus Trescott. Did you play with Andy Caddick? You've been around then. There was guys like Justin Langer, Vernon Philander. What kind of things did you learn from those guys during your time at Somerset?
Yeah, you learn lots of things. You pick up little snippets. I mean, Caddy was extraordinarily hard on me. We're great mates now, but he was really hard on me as a youngster. Absolutely brutal. I've got some funny anecdotes of like times with Caddy, but then you also play with people that were really, really influential in the way that I go about my business 15 years later and more. Like Justin Langer, he was a very, very inspiring man, and no fluke that he's doing so well coaching Australia now. Demanded respect, he was the hardest worker, and Trez the same. He would always be, even probably this winter, which is quite sad really because he's not playing next year, but he will probably be hitting more balls than all the guys that are professionals. He's just amazingly diligent with the way he practices, and I suppose you sort of look around and you suck up things that you find are impressive or can help your game, and you adopt them into your sort of lifestyle. So I've been lucky. I've been around a lot of great role models. The director of cricket, Andy Hurry, ex-Marine PTI, again, a man that demanded a lot of respect. From a physical standpoint as well, I think where Somerset were in the majority of my career there, always the fittest, sort of most sort of ruthless team around, even though the trophy count wasn't huge. We were always there or thereabouts, and the physical side of things was also something that was really drummed into us, and something that's, like I said, at 38 stands me in pretty good stead going into my next 2 to 4 years, maybe even more. You just don't know.
And was Andy Caddick, did he work with you on the bowling side of things? Because you're an all-rounder, you do everything.
Yeah, well, Caddy from a bowling point of view, obviously, watching what he did it was almost impossible for anyone to replicate what he did, because he was a massive giraffe. He had a bit of pace, and he had the most incredibly skilled wrists. I mean, it was like, the moons aligned in bowl in terms when he was made. He was born to bowl. But he would also think that that's how everyone should bowl. So I'm 5'11", Caddy's 6'8" or whatever he is, and I can remember my first wicket. I got playing in my first game against Sussex, I think, and I got a wicket, and I was buzzing in the huddle. Everyone was patting me on the back, and Caddy pulled me at the pack, and he goes, I'm not looking at all right, Andy. He goes, "What are you doing? That's not the length to bowl. Bowl just back of a length and get the ball rising through here." And I'm like looking at him like, mate, I'd have to like land that on my toe to get it that much bounce. It's like, so his idea of bowling was through his eyes. It was like, us mere mortals couldn't bowl like him. But then other people that were around were brilliant. Dermot Reeve was one of the best coaches in terms of the ability to swing a ball and cutters and run your fingers down the side of the ball, because he was probably like myself, a guy that didn't have the natural attributes for a bowler. He was a normal sized guy. He wasn't quick, so he had to sort of learn the real art and craft of swing and seam and all those kind of things. So, there's always a combination of stuff to bring into your game.
And that, they say, learning all those little tricks with the ball, the cutters and things, that really stood you in good stead going into the shorter format in T20, didn't it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I haven't bowled huge amounts in the shortest form. Not as much as I'd like anyway, but again, yeah, it's definitely got me out of jail a few times where you've got someone whacking it all over the place and you can slide in a few variations. Not saying that you get them right every time, but certainly the skill level and the options are there. It's just 2020 in the one-day cricket now is a brutal place to be. I'm not sure. I love batting and belting it all over the place. It's a completely different emotion with ball in hand. You almost, before you've even bowled a ball, I think you almost feel like, oh, I'm up against it here. So, but then that's from a perspective of playing at a place which is notoriously quite hard to bowl. So I'm got to be honest, looking out the window and seeing Trent Bridge, I'm licking my lips to get out there.
Well, it's swinging around and all that.
Bit of swing, bit of nip, a lot of success personally up here. Hopefully I can do it for the team instead of against.
And you were one of the early adopters of the T20 franchise model. You went and played in New Zealand, Bangladesh, and there's somewhere else I'm forgetting.
Zimbabwe.
That's the one. That you played at the Harare Sports Club.
Yeah.
What was that like going away and playing?
Amazing. 7 years, no winters, which was outstanding. Great experience again. There was some of those early T20 tournaments. They were under pressure to sign all the big players, so you were playing these sort of mini IPL standard sort of tournaments. Chris Gayle would be there, and Brett Lee and Sean Tate and all the nasty fasties and the big hitters. It was fantastic to be in that group. And to be fair, I think I sort of carried myself pretty well. I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get a bit more of it, really. But then I suppose the bigger ones that you needed to really get your name out there was always a conflict between the county season and the IPL, for instance. I mean, Somerset played in the Champions League, and I got man of the match against Calcutta Knight Riders, and I got asked to go in for a bit of a meeting with Gautam Gambhir and the owner of the franchise. And, they were like, go in the auction, we'll pick you up and all this jazz. And you think, well, okay. But then trying to get it across to Somerset, I'd be probably missing 2 months of the county season. Went down like a sandwich that you wouldn't want to eat, put it that way. And, so I think, I always enjoyed that. My cricket, my county cricket was always my most important thing. But I think there were some opportunities where I probably could have been a bit braver, let's say. But yeah, it was what an experience to travel different parts of the world.
So where was that game against Calcutta? Did you play them at their place or?
That was in India. Yeah, I got a few 50s in the Champions League. We beat Calcutta Knight Riders to get into the semi-final, which, I think the semi-final is the Champions League. The model was the best two teams from every country in the world. And, the semi-final, we're in Chennai playing against the Mumbai Indians. It was just like a bit of a pinch me moment, So, we were effectively the fourth best team in the world right there. And yeah, amazing experience. And had some good times. I was in good form, and yeah, it was all sort of clicking in the right direction. But again, bowling my little away swingers in April rather than going into that auction.
Well, it worked out for you because you had a lot of years at Somerset. You must have enjoyed all your time there.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, you grow up, you want to play for your home county, and obviously did that, and a great sort of end to that sort of tale of, I think about 19 seasons I played for Somerset. To win the trophy last year with the lads, was, in particular, long-standing teammates, James Hildreth, for instance. That was a bit of a fairy tale end to it, really. But now it's about looking forward and the challenges and all the stuff that comes with a move. But again, like I said, I didn't realise how refreshed I would be. It's a good place to be at the moment.
Because I've seen an interview that you did with, I think, some of the Notts guys, where you mentioned that you wanted to get back into the 4-day game. That you missed that part of it.
Well, that's
because you were on white ball only last year. At
Somerset, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's quite well reported that Somerset wicket is obviously being produced for spin bowling. So the seam bowling all rounders, I wasn't in the high enough up the pecking order for that, so that's obviously disappointing. It made sense to go white ball. I enjoyed the season, to be honest, just playing the white ball stuff. To win a trophy and here a week later you're not going to be retained was pretty disappointing, but again, it was a nice sort of end to the chapter, if you like. But I think the test of your game with it's again well reported, white ball cricket and the nature of how that ball behaves against playing on, English pitches with a duke ball is such a higher test of your skill level as a batsman in particular, and your bowling to really sort of make the most of it. That's the challenge. I think, when I'm 60, boring everyone else in the pub about certain performances, this, that, and the other, it would probably be those performances in 4-day cricket that I'd probably be most proud of. How many runs and wickets you score and all that kind of stuff that you hear other old timers talking about. It's the 4-day cricket that I think will be the stuff that, I think that's the true judge of how good you are as a player.
So like the innings you had where you got the one where you and Ryan Davis put on 234 or something as a record for the 8th wicket in county championship. That must be a special moment for you personally. Yeah,
sure. I mean, again, I think I went in and it just coincided with the new ball being taken, or our innings started when the light was dropping and they turned the floodlights on. And it's like one of those weird sciences that when the lights first come on, the ball just seems to dart around everywhere. It's crackers. And that was that period. And I think we were like 20-something. We were nothing for 4. Oh, wow. And I went in and, by the close of play, I think I was on 49 off about 25 balls. I had literally was just in the zone, and then followed it off the next day. And I think that's probably the one thing that I want to improve on as a player, in the future moving forward, is to get those big scores, those big sort of, not just get 100, wave your bat and then slog one up in the air, be hungry, greedy to get those 150 pluses. I think that's probably the next place I want to get to as a player. So yeah, those days are great. I mean, I think I've scored about 2,500s in my career. I definitely feel like I've got another 10 or so to chalk off.
Are there any of those 25 that stand out to you that's particularly special?
There was one I think probably 2 of my best knocks, I think, they're both against Yorkshire, actually. Obviously, whenever you play against Yorkshire, you're going to be up for a test.
You're playing against England players most of the time.
Yeah, they're obviously a fantastic side, and they play their cricket in a great way. Great blokes to have a beer with afterwards, but you're in a contest at all times. And we had one of those quite sort of familiar games at Taunton where we were going into bat on the last day and we needed 487 in the day, and it was just like, it was going to fizzle out into a draw. That was kind of, everyone kind of thought that was the thing, apart from one bloke, which was our captain, Justin Langer, and he sort of pulled us in and said, he jiggled the order around a little bit and he goes, "We're having a crack at this." Everyone was like, 487 in the day, you high? We were like, no chance. And I went in and I got 100 off 54 balls, and we ended up knocking it off with about 7 overs to go. It was extraordinary, and just one of those days again where, I've seen the footage as well. It looked like I was trying to hack a tree down with an axe, to be fair, but everything just kept pinging off the middle of the bat, and that was pretty memorable. And then And then I think whenever you score 100 in one day cricket, one day hundreds like quite hard to come by. A lot of very good players that you'd think would have heaps and heaps that it's normally sort of single figure numbers. So I scored back to 2 days in a row. I scored one at Edgbaston and then one at Lords. 2 days in a row, 200s, and I've always had the knack of ruining really great moments, and this was the same. So picture the scene. I think I hit a 6 into the stand, raised my bat to 100. Obviously it was on a weekend, so the Lord's Pavilion was full. Real sort of, even now, goosebumps thinking about it. We only need about 7 or 8 runs to win when I got out. Walking through the long room, everyone's standing, all the MCC members, all the egg and bacon ties clapping me off, and obviously buzzing, having my little moment. And then back right hand corner, a guy, enormously tall guy, stands up clapping me, and he's very obviously clapping me. And I've sort of did a double take at him, and I've just shouted at the top of my voice, excuse my language, it's Basil Fawlty. And John Cleese, fellow Weston-super-Mare man, was in the Lord's Pavilion clapping me off, and it was just like the most surreal moment, which was a great moment, but I ruined it because I swore in the long room, and I got like a letter of complaint from half of the members in there. But I had John Cleese clapping me off. It was just absolutely mental. It was like, last time I saw John Cleese, he was whacking a mini with a stick. And now he's in front of me clapping me. It was absolutely mad. And I had my bat from the day signed by him, and that was a real special moment.
They're the ones that live with you forever as well, aren't they? That's a story you'll be able to tell. Like you say, when you're 16, you've got all your friends in the pub and everything.
Apart from my kids, who have no idea who John Cleese is.
You have to give them a binge session on Fawlty Towers.
Only Fools and Horses, Fawlty Towers, definitely.
Some others do have them as well.
Yeah.
Underrated. Definitely. People miss that one out a lot. And then on the other side of it, is there a wicket that stands out to you? It's like you like maybe when you grafted for you were bowling your away swingers and you got one to duck in or something like that, or a guy you're particularly proud that you got out like Steve Waugh.
Again, could be a bit boring, really. I mean, there was one innings I took 7 wickets, my career best at Headingley against Yorkshire, 11 in the match, and I just had the ball on a piece of string. I remember it vividly. I always have to do the donkey work up the hill at Headingley, but I think Alfonso Thomas went off injured, and I got unleashed down the hill, and it was just it was honestly felt like you didn't even have to run in. It was so much easier to all the work that I'd done in the past, and just the skills were on tap, and every ball that was did a bit was nicked and caught in the slips. I think Trez was just there swallowing them like packets of Haribo. He was loving it. And that was, I don't know about a particular wicket. I think getting Chris Gayle out in 20 over cricket was always a big one, because I had a game where I bowled 3 overs for 55 at Bangalore against him, and he absolutely ruined me. I even said to the captains, I said, I actually don't know what to bowl that's not going to go for 6 here. It was just one of those.
Because when he's in the zone, he's different.
I was getting Yorkers right in, and he just somehow hit them off the toe of the bat, and they were going halfway up the stand. It was just absolutely mad. So yeah, he took me down pretty hard that day, and I think the following game I got him out early, and you just know, you can even sense everyone in your team are like, thanks mate, I don't have to bowl at him. So yeah, getting guys like that is always pretty special.
Well, you can hear the crowd just so disappointed that they get to watch him bat. Yeah. You're the bad guy. Because he's a giant as well, isn't he? He's not small.
He's a big fella.
Doesn't run very well, but
yeah, I think that's probably by choice. I think he could run well, but the universe boss doesn't have to run. That's the difference.
Especially when you give yourself that nickname.
Yeah, that's.
If only everyone had that self-confidence.
Definitely, I really like World Boss. I thought Universe Boss was like maybe one step too far, but World Boss did genuinely suit him, because he is in cricket, especially in 2020. I mean, his record is just unbelievable. Somerset signed him, and when the T20 tickets were released at the same time as announcing him, the software just couldn't cope with the demand. That's how, that's a feather in the cap for anyone, isn't it? He breaks computers because that's how popular he is.
Well, it's that, and he's a character as well. He's not just a great batsman. He's a he's a character, and all sports need those kind of characters.
Yeah, definitely. He is absolute box office. Great to be around as well. He's an amazing giver of his time as well. It was my benefit year, the year that he was there, and he came down to one of my matches, and I was playing this game at South Devon Cricket Club, and I sort of knew him from other franchises and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, any chance you could just turn up and sign a few autographs? He came down, and within an hour of him being in there, 5,000 people were all on rum and coke. We're having to go down to the nearest supermarket to fill up with Captain Morgan's rum just because he made the whole place into a carnival. I had to drag him away by the end of it. It was just absolutely mental. So yeah, he's a great ambassador for sport, entertainment, and he will have a great career whenever he puts his cricket bat down, because he's just a guy that people want to be around. Because
you've had a bit of a reputation being a bit of a character on the field. Like, you like to get involved on the boundary, and like I say, you're always mic'd up on Sky kind of thing. You enjoyed that side of it? Yeah,
I mean, sports people, I think somehow they get so engrossed in what they're doing as a profession, they forget that the actual reason they're doing it and being paid is because they're supposed to entertain all them people around you. So I'm mindful of that, but at the end of the day, like, love a bit of banter with the crowd. Obviously, sometimes positive, sometimes negative. You give a bit back, but I think it's all generally in cricket in good nature. You have a laugh, and ultimately, it's about entertaining people, whether that's with your skills or with an action. But also, there's stuff that people might perceive as, oh, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. Actually, I'm just trying to do my job to the best of my ability. If I do it with a smile on my face, laughing and enjoying what I'm doing, well, I'm sorry, I kind of do enjoy my job as well. So if that's deemed as being an entertainer, then that's exactly what I'm happy to be.
Did you find it distracting being mic'd up while you were playing? Like, talking with the guys in your ear?
The only time I ever found it distracting, I think we were playing at the Rose Bowl when I was mic'd up, talking to whoever was on commentary while I was bowling an over, and they were trying, what are you going to bowl this ball? What are you going to bowl that ball? And I basically, whatever I said, I just bowled a heap of crap, and it was like the opposite of what I said, so it made me look really stupid. I think I was bowling to Michael Carberry, great mate of mine. I'm just going to bowl into leg stump because I know he likes a little bit of width, and he'll hit me through the offside. I bowled him a cut ball that he smacked over point for one bounce four, and it was like, oh, yeah, that didn't go to plan. So... yeah, you get those. That was the only time I felt it was awkward. Being mic'd up and you're in the field, and that little bit of lull time in cricket where they're
but you change your position,
talk about this, that, and the other. And I think there was one particular game where I was talking about this. There's a great big pigeon feeding on seed on the wicket. Great big, like, it was really fat pigeon, and I nicknamed him Trez. And. And that, I think I was chatting to Paul Allett at the time. That got quite amusing. And there was a scene where, like, the pigeon tried to take off, and he was really struggling to get off the ground because he'd ate so much. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely Trez.
Oh, that's tremendous. And then say, there's no pressure on to say Trent Bridge for this answer, but what like grounds have you found special to play at outside of Taunton? Because that's obviously your home. That is home for you.
Well, Lords is obviously, the home of cricket. It is a great place to play. And this will sound like I'm saying this for the sake of it, but I promise you, I could find interviews from 10 years ago where I've said the same thing. As a cricketer, the pitch at Trent Bridge suits my game. The ground itself is fantastic, but genuinely, like, it excites me playing at Trent Bridge because, I remember, like, really fondly from coming up here, Andre Adams, Sidebottom, Swan, Stephen Fleming, Chris Reed, a phenomenal team. And you knew when you come up here, you had to be on it. So great memories of a bit of personal success here. But then, you play. I mean, I played last winter in a T20 competition in Nepal, the Pokhara Premier League. No one's ever heard of it, I doubt, and probably no one saw any of it. But it was televised in Nepal anyway, so it was obviously big time. But I was playing on this relatively dusty sort of amateurish ground with a load of temporary stands and that. But I had, the Fishtail and Annapurna, like the third and fourth highest. The Himalayas was the backdrop of this ground. I mean, it was unbelievable. So it's not necessarily the obvious answer, but that was the most fantastic ground I've ever played. It was a pretty tired ground, but the setting was absolutely unbelievable. I'm playing cricket in Nepal. Who'd have ever thought that'd happen?
It's almost like that's the kind of there's that ground in South Africa, isn't there, with the mountain in the background?
Table Mountain,
yeah. That one, when you see that on TV, it just looks like the most incredible view.
Well, I played there at probably quite a different period in my career, and also from that ground, I think maybe to the right-hand side of Table Mountain, as you look at it from the ground, there's the Castle Lager factory. So I just spent every minute on the field just thirsty. I was like, oh, I cannot wait to get off and enjoy one of those.
So then, like I say, it's an adventure at Trent Bridge now. Is there anyone you're looking forward to getting out in the middle with and batting with?
Playing cricket with Fletch, 100%. I mean, you know he's a character. You know, he's a big old lump of a bloke as well. You know, good bowler, good. You can tell he puts his heart and soul into what he's doing for the team, which I massively respect. But then flipping on to being a teammate of his, he's just a giver of energy for like the people around him. You know, he has his sort of like, I think from the outside look, he could look a bit, one of those sort of miserable sort of Bungleberry type sort of people, but honestly, he is so good to be around as a sport. He's, like I said, he's positive. He buzzes off other people's success and what they do well. He's a cracking bloke, actually. I'd be surprised if I was the first person who said that about him, actually. But yeah, there's a lot of talent in the team. Jake Ball at the moment, I bowled with him the other day at Loughborough, and he looks in seriously good form. I think he was obviously a bit disappointed, I think, not being picked up in the 100 ball. So I think that might be his moment where it's his, not kick up the backside, but it's his moment to say, actually, this is how good I am, because how he's bowling at the moment is impressive. Young Haas, that's obviously joined at the same time as me from Lancs, burst onto the scene, played for England, had his period in the game, looks super hungry to score runs. Yeah, Slater, Clark, Duckett, good lads. They look like they mean business as well. I think the whole club in itself, is probably coming off a little bit of a hangover season, where they can actually be really powerful positions for sports teams. You get to a stage where, right, we've got no choice but to brush that aside and move on now. A couple of new people coming in, myself included, and a group of people that have had a little bit of a burn and they're motivated. So I think it's actually, the club are in a real good space. And then
it was announced that you were leaving Somerset, I think it was the end of August, and then you signed for Nottinghamshire in December. Were you like just looking for the best spot for you, for the best role to fill in that time?
It's a strange one, because I had some extraordinary conversations. I think the credit to the new boss, Peter Moores, Mick Newell, Stephen Mullaney, they know their cricket. They also did a lot of due diligence on what I was about with, physical trainers around. I think the general feedback was, this ain't no normal 38-year-old, because basically, I had a couple of conversations and it was like, well, you're 38. I mean, what's, but when I was probably speaking to Pete Moores for probably about, 4 to 6 weeks, and he completely got where I was at, and he was, he literally didn't even see the physical side of things as a problem, because, like I said, a few months on, from the physical testing point of view, I'm putting a few sort of markers on the board for the 21-year-olds to catch up with me on. So I'm really proud of that side of my game. But also he understood that I've learnt my game. I know what I'm about as a person, as a teammate, in terms of helping out the people around me as well. And I think there was a need for not sort of perceived need, that they needed a bit of a senior player to come in as well. And I just fit the bill. And, coming in now, I've heard that there were a few pretty big names in cricket banded about, and all the senior sort of people within the club picked me out of the names that were available, which is such a boost for me. And I'm sure my top score in the semi-final from last year probably showed them that I can still do the business. But actually, I sit here now probably easy to say it, harder to do, but I genuinely feel like I could easily have my best season of my career next year. I really am that in such a good place with my game, and again, the coaches around me have just made me feel really ready to do some proper damage next year.
So it's almost like you were ready for a new challenge kind of thing. Like you needed this to refresh yourself kind of thing.
Definitely. But then again, I was so nervous. Like I was literally like the new kid back at school, you know, had me pencil case and rucksack over my shoulder, head down, walking in, and, you know, it was literally felt like the whole ground just sort of went, yeah, you're one of us now, which is nice. You know, like I said, when you do battles with people for so many years, it's probably potentially hard to flip that switch into embracing someone as a teammate, but everyone's done it. You know, I've still got a lot of good cricket, a lot of match-winning cricket in my bones. I don't know how much, but it's a lot more than the next couple of years. I'm pretty confident of that. So, really exciting time. But yeah, again, whenever you sort of you leave somewhere, there's always that period of someone's going to come in. Are they? And then you get the doubts. Oh my God, you know, could this be the end? I'm sure, you know, across the board, you know, people get those experiences. But like I said, you just need one person to get you and need you and want you. And unfortunately for me, you know, Notts and Peter Moores was the person and environment to do that for me.
And then before the cricket season starts, you'll have the opportunity to go and watch an ice hockey game or two.
Definitely. Like I said, we were chatting walking in. I didn't really know. I've never watched a game. Seen a bit on TV from one of my favourite films, The Love Guru. Probably not a great deal of hockey played on that particular film, but you know, it's. I think it's a game that I probably wouldn't follow, only because whenever it's Christmas and I take the kids ice skating, it's the one thing I've done in my life which is genuinely embarrassing. I'm literally like Bambi on ice. I spend more time on my elbows and my ass than I do on my skates. It is proper, you know. It's a big ego sort of deflation.
There's always a way when you do something you've not done before kind of thing, and it's completely different when you step on the ice. It's completely a different feeling to just walking around.
Yeah, exactly. I find it amazing how you can, like, the power they get behind those shots and stuff like that, and the way they turn and change direction. It is fair play to them. I mean, like I said, seeing it live, I'm sure, is even more impressive.
And then, like I said, it's a bit of a spoiler alert as we're talking again. We're definitely coming up with some projects where us and Nottingham Cricket Club are going to exchange some. I think the term is skill swapping. Because our head coach thinks cricket's easy. He played baseball in high school. And we were in Denmark recently, had his glass of wine on his bed, and he's sitting there going, I could hit a cricket ball, you know. So my first thought was, we'll see about that. So he's going to come and have a net with you guys.
One of the IPL franchises, I think it was a bit of a media stunt, but got a Major League Baseball player to go. They thought it was like, this guy is going to hit for fun, sixes for fun. And the simple transfer between the full toss and the ball bouncing, he could not hit the cricket ball. Not even, it was like a complete, we need to scrap this. It's not as, but then cricketers will all say, I can hit a baseball.
Yeah.
And it's just not that simple, is it?
No.
I don't think anything's as simple as you think it is.
Well, especially with cricket, when you're a cricketer, you're watching. That's why sometimes a full toss is the hardest one to hit, isn't it? Because you're not looking for the full toss, you're looking at the pitch. Whereas then in baseball, you're looking for the full toss. You know, that's not what it is in that, but that's what you're looking for in that kind of sport.
I reckon like if you just threw down a straight ball, cricket style, and just a straight ball baseball, I think that's fine. But as soon as you got in swing, out swing, and all these because with a bent elbow as well, you can do so many different things with the baseball as well, in terms of like the sliders and all the different swings and God knows what else, and the one that dips on you, the knuckleball or whatever you'd call it. So many variations. I think that's what would be a bit of a trick. And the thing is people always fall into, you know, classic. It is an absolute classic armchair critic thing. When you're watching a professional, they're professionals because they make the game look easy. Do you know what I mean? If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And that's, I think that's the beauty of sport. Yeah, you get those like, I could do that. I could face Jofra Archer. What's the problem? Yeah, okay.
So I imagine you get like when you're walking off, you just like, why'd you play that shot? Why'd you do that? Excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so that is the classic thing, isn't it? It's a very British thing to do that. So is the coach here an American chap?
Yeah, he's American.
I'm sure he'd be welcome to strap the old pads on. I'm sure the bowlers would love it.
Already booked in. I think we're doing it on the 26th. I think
we had there was.
I've said if he doesn't leave with a bruise, I failed. He needs a bruise on his thigh or something.
Yeah. I think there was a chap, Peter, who was from I forget which charity. Is Siri going off? I forget what charity he was from, but he came down to the ground and he raised money. He had to face 5 overs from Jamie and Craig Overton and 5 overs from me, and he was like had all the kit on. The first ball, because I hadn't bowled, it was like sometime in January. I hadn't bowled a great deal. The first ball I slightly dragged down a little bit. He luckily had a very modern helmet on. It hit him straight between the eyes and put him on his backside, and he was like a gibbering wreck for the whole thing. He hated it. It was like half an hour of he was petrified.
Was that when was it Brett Lee broke Piers Morgan's rib?
Yeah,
I remember that one.
You miss a cricket ball, you're doing well if you don't break a bone. So, yeah, and to be fair, I've got lads who play. One of my good mates, Matt Banahan, who plays now for Gloucester Rugby, massive bloke, good cricketer, good hockey player. When he speaks to all the big, strong, roughy tufties, when they're talking about facing a guy at 90 mile, they're like, sod that, no chance. But then cricket, I wouldn't want to get hit by one of those blokes. Some of the contacts they have in rugby, absolutely no chance. But I think it's always a dangerous place to be when you look at another person's sport and go, it's easy.
Yeah, well, we've got a player, Jordan Kelsall, who played at Derbyshire for junior level. And he says it's scarier to face a quick bowler than it is to play ice hockey. So we've actually got that clarification in the room that cricket is a scarier sport than ice hockey.
Yeah, well, you can tell the coach that I'll get a nice bottle of red wine for him for after the net, and we'll share that.
Perfect. I can't wait for it. Well, thank you for doing this. Thank you for giving us your time. And you've already been welcome to Nottingham, but welcome to Nottingham again.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I really look forward to coming and catching a game with the kids. It looks great arena, and I'm sure the thought of 5,000 people in there is pretty cool.
And you didn't get any of your hockey puns in either.
No, for puck's sake.
That's the perfect ending.